Hey everybody, do I got a video for you? So I thought that we would do a dry live react to this Charlie Kirk video. Lib claims MAGA is a cult, but nearly passes out after learning it might be the other way around. That's funny. So I'm gonna listen to this. I haven't heard any of it yet, so let's check it out.
My statement slash question is: would you agree slash disagree that the Make America movement, Make America Great movement, again, MAGA movement, is a cult?
No. Why don't you explain to me and the audience what is a cult?
Yes,
Of course.
inquiring
Okay.
minds
Do you know
want to
any
know.
characteristics of a cult?
Sure. I mean, you could take the Jonestown death cult, of which there was a charismatic leader that constantly lied people, and they took him out of everyday normal life and
She's gonna
leads
claim
them
that's
towards
Trump.
ostracization and cutting off of family ties.
I don't see how she does
Am I,
that
am I
at
getting
all.
closer
Yeah,
to
I mean,
describing
I
the
will read-
How,
Democrat
how
Party?
does Trump cut
According to
anyone
the-
off?
No. What I'm talking about is MAGA. According to the Bethune Cook University website, characteristics of a cult include isolating members and criticizing them for leaving. Would you say that members of the MAGA movement will criticize others for leaving?
Well, yeah. I mean, but you guys criticize players that transfer out of the University of Tennessee football team. That's not a cult.
Good point. Good point. Like, really, anybody is going to criticize anybody else that they don't agree with, right? So, I mean, that's kind of a stupid point. And she's going to say that Trump is obviously the charismatic leader who is, alienating people from others. I think that's really dumb. He has never done that. It's a stretch, to be sure.
Okay, what about the absolute authoritarianism without meaningful
What?
accountability?
Okay, so what you're trying to say is that, like, what the leader says, the leader gets, basically?
Yes, Trump.
We have lots of disagreements in the MAGA movement. In fact, I'm more
Look how she says Trump's name with disdain. Yes, Trump.
pro-life than the president is. In fact, a lot of people in this audience would have differing views maybe on where the president is at on Israel or Gaza or Ukraine or Russia. In fact, some people in this audience might say the president is not as pro-Second Amendment as they would like. I would argue that we actually have far more intellectual diversity in the MAGA movement than your traditional Democrat Party.
That's true because we don't ostracize anybody that disagrees with us. Just like I would say, I mean, Charlie Kirk is way more, um, he's way better at speaking. He's way more like articulate with what he says and how he says it than I think, most people. So I'm not trying to compare myself in any way. But I would say as a whole, right, MAGA members are much more like inclusive and able to disagree with each other and talk. And we're much better at like sitting down and having a discussion with somebody who might not agree, um, and trying to like hear them out and trying to explain our side. And that doesn't automatically exclude the person that we're talking to from being someone that we continue talking to, right? So,
I see where you're going with this and stating that not every person who, I guess, supports Trump is fully supportive of him, but I'm saying the MAGA movement who
no. No, being fully supportive of him is not the same thing as fully agreeing with every single one of his thoughts and ideas and policies. You can like somebody, you can support somebody, and you can still disagree with certain aspects. And that's a huge thing that Democrats get wrong a lot of times, right? They think that you have to be a certain way and you can't disagree with anything. You have to agree with every one of their ideas and their policies, or else you're every name in the book, right? You're a Nazi, you're a bigot, you're racist, you're transphobic, you're everything, right? But you don't have to be a label. You can just think what you think and be a person. You may not agree with everything, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree.
agree with him no matter what?
Well, I actually think that there's more depth and complexity to the MAGA movement than you would imagine. A lot of people here who would consider themselves to be part of the MAGA movement, they won't blindly sign on to everything that Trump does. However, they will say that they agree with him 8 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times. And so I would say, though, you know what was a cult? What was a cult is what we lived during COVID. During COVID, and allow me to build out the argument that no matter what the CDC or Anthony Fauci would say, you would have the little talking heads on television parrot it back, no matter how insane it was. We must close the schools, 6 feet to slow the spread, wear a mask while showering. Okay, I made that one up. But, I mean, the point being is that far more had characterizations of what a cult would be than the traditional Make America.
Yeah, he makes a really good point here. I actually agree with this completely. So basically, he's saying that you can have a policy that you disagree with, and you can still, like I said before, you can still support the person coming up with the policies, right? You just might disagree on something. A cult, on the other hand, would be someone who, or a group of people who just completely blindly follow, agree with everything that's said, and are afraid to disagree or else they'll get backlash.
America Great Again movement.
Okay, but you could also argue the side that Fox News does the exact same thing, where they just regurgitate everything that the right media is saying, and people on the right will believe anything Fox News says. And I'm not defending CNN. I'm not saying the Democratic Party is perfect.
Okay, so if I am watching Fox, which I sometimes see clips of Fox, but I'm going to tell you straight up, I get all of my news from X and from random videos on YouTube. So I try to get things firsthand. And sometimes I'll see people that I respect, their opinions, reacting, right? And we've reacted to Asmongold and certain things like Nuxenor. We react to that stuff on here sometimes, and I watch things like Brett Cooper and Matt Walsh and others, right? And sometimes I just see news clips, right, from the stations like Fox or CNN. And I will agree or disagree, and sometimes watch more than one perspective of the same clip to get different people's opinions on it sometimes. I will draw my own conclusions from the differences. I will see the differences in all of the reporting styles or lack thereof reporting. When it comes to CNN, sometimes they skip stories altogether and they don't talk about it. But I think what's interesting is she's saying that we will just believe anything that Fox says. I think MAGA is more able to discern truth because we don't only listen to a select few. We try to listen to all, right? I try to listen to both sides, and I try to listen to many opinions, and I try to look at things from different angles and get the opinion that I think is obviously like more logical. So I will watch not to see what I should think, but to see who agrees with me. And 9 times out of 10, everyone who I think is going to agree with me agrees with me. I think that it's pretty interesting that they just have this idea in their heads that we just believe anything we hear, and that Fox is just. I think Fox is trying to fairly report. I think that they do get it wrong sometimes, but it's not because they're trying to create a narrative. It's more like they just make a mistake. They're human, right? And they'll come out and apologize, and they'll edit when they get something wrong. Whereas CNN is obviously pushing an agenda, so they will say things purposely or leave stories out. Like the story they left out where in one of the press conferences, the speaker actually brought out this woman who is the mother to a lady who got brutally beaten and killed, right, by an illegal immigrant. And she was trying to tell the story of what happened to her daughter, and, how, it was pretty graphic. And I'm not going to go into detail in this video. You can look it up. But basically, and I can't remember what her name was right off the top of my head, but it was a really sad story. I think if you just look up like mother to illegal immigrant victim, um, look up the woman that got brutally killed while walking on a trail, and I'm pretty sure you'll come across it. Um, so CNN obviously doesn't want the narrative that illegals can be like criminals, right? They want to keep them in the country. I think it's all to boost their voting numbers and to get them more Senate seats, honestly. Um,
I'm just saying that there is a movement of conservative people who support Trump who will do it no matter what.
that's not true.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get to where you have come to this opinion. I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah.
Because I see something
We just simply like what he's doing.
completely different.
I do not use CNN as my news source, by the way, just so you know.
Good for you. Apparently, you haven't been in an airport recently because the only people that watch CNN is if you're walking through an airport. So I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, and by your own definition of a cult.
It's not my own. It's a legitimate.
Fine. So let me ask you a question. A cult would probably convince people to do something that would be against their humanity. Would you agree?
Yes.
A cult would probably get people to do something that they know is wrong, even though they think they should do something as right.
Maybe, because
Okay.
some of these people are brainwashed into believing certain things that
For
they
sure.
don't actually agree
No,
with
no,
because
okay.
they don't have the proper information
Got
on
it.
it.
So, for example, would you agree that when the Democrats
I feel like her narrative right now is basically like holier than thou. It's like, look at me. I'm not being brainwashed. These other people, these MAGA folks, are being brainwashed. And it's like, it's virtue signaling to herself. It's like, look, I'm better. Look, I'm above that. But I think he's about to smack her down and really show her that she's the brainwashed one.
sat during the State of the Union address to not applaud a kid with brain cancer, that is cult-like behavior.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Because their leader told
Right.
them not to do it. I mean,
Well, who told them not to?
exactly. I mean, their leadership told
So
them.
who's their leader? If they're
Well,
a cult,
Chuck
then who's their
Schumer
leader?
or Hakeem Jeffries, they had strict
Or Nancy
orders. Do not
Pelosi.
stand and applaud for anything Trump does. They
Right.
told us this.
Yes.
And so then Trump says, hey, can we just have a moment of non-political? Here's DJ Daniel. He's dying of brain cancer. He's now a ceremonial member of the Secret Service. And every Democrat sat with their arms crossed, not even being able to show the humanity. I mean, that's a cult.
Okay.
He speaks truth.
To respond to that, that is simply one example.
How can you respond to that? There is absolutely nothing that she can say here that will justify that because that was a mic drop.
And I'm sure you can pull a bunch other out, but and I'm not
Yes.
saying that what the Democratic Party did that night was correct. I believe that what they were doing was standing against Trump's hypocrisy and his narcissism and his way of like.
Okay, so if you are in the right, I'm just going to say it straight out. You don't need to stoop to a level that you think that you're defeating. I think that there was nothing justifiably okay about what the Democrats did in that moment. No matter what Trump did, there is nothing that can justify not clapping and not standing for a brain cancer patient who just got awarded an honorary membership into the Secret Service. Why would you do that? That's only hurtful to him. That's not hurtful to Trump. You're literally proving his point that the Democrats are being ridiculous.
Making himself look good by not grabbing, but like using other people who are marginalized to make himself look good.
So here's my suggestion, and take it for whatever it's worth. Calling the opposition political movement a cult when the other one that you happen to be more allied with is obviously much more of a cult is not helpful.
Okay, then tell me how it's a cult. Tell me how the Democratic
Okay,
Party
how
is a
about
cult
this?
compared to MAGA.
I'll give you another you asked me for more examples.
Yes.
The day of the State of the Union address, all 22 Democrat senators repeated the very same video on social media, mindlessly like robots.
What video?
The video where they said something is effing out of control and this is not right. You guys all saw that video. Repeating the same incantation with not even like an iota of creativity or ingenuity, like just repeating it like as if they've been hit.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's going to touch on this or not, but have you guys seen the viral video where all of the different local news stations across the entire country are filmed one after another repeating the same talking points exactly word for word? They are pushing an agenda, right? They are trying to get out a certain message. They are not trying to get out the truth. They're not reporting on a subject. They're literally just like robots repeating the same like message, like mindless brain control message. This is a threat to our democracy. You know, just the crazy stuff that they're spewing, just like that. It's actually kind of scary.
Hypnotized into a.
Yep.
I have not seen that video.
Well, you should. But again, I'm not even the one that is up here throwing around the cult word towards the Democrat Party. I just think it's a supremely rich accusation to say the MAGA movement is part of a cult when evidently based on the own standard that you.
This is the way I feel. Okay. And I think this is really important to get this out there because I think a lot of people on the right feel this way, and I think this is why MAGA exists, right? This is why a lot of people are excited about Trump. I think that while we were all just kind of sitting here being complacent, I think over time, and it took a long time, it's been a long time coming, slowly but surely, a power of some kind has been working in the shadows and taking over. And we started to see these little things happening, these little control efforts, these little, well, we'll just go one step further. We'll just control you a little bit more. Now we'll control your speech. Now with COVID, we're going to control your movements. We're going to control what you're allowed. And then we're going to control what you're allowed to think. We're going to start indoctrinating your children. We're going to start, and it's just a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further, and we could see that, right? And then Trump comes along and wants to put a stop to it and bring us back to like, no. Let's just all be normal again. Believe what you want, but don't push it on other people, right? So I think that that's where this cult idea that she gets about MAGA is rich. Because he's trying to put a stop to the cult-like behavior that has been like creeping in, you know, oozing in.
You put forward, the Democrat Party embodies those characteristics far more than Republicans or conservatives ever have or ever will.
So one of the main aspects of a cult is a leader, a charismatic leader that people will follow blindly no matter what.
Let's just name a couple. You have AOC. You have Bernie Sanders. You have Nancy Pelosi. Right? You have that, oh, who's that one? The Jasmine, right? That one senator likes to talk ghetto talk. These are all like characters. They're putting on a show. Did you know that she didn't even have that ghetto accent in the beginning? She like started taking it on when she was trying to get more people to like her. It's like, oh, I can be more black. Let me play this character. Let me play this role. I think that it's kind of obvious that that's exactly what the Democrats have been trying to do. Right? Whatever they'll play and they'll do whatever it takes to try to become what they think is popular, to try to get more people on their side. I think one really good explanation, or not explanation, but example of this is how recently I read an article how the Democrats wanted to gain more popularity because they thought that they were losing popularity by acting the way that they've been acting. So now they're going to act a new way, right? They said that they were going to go dark Democrat. They're going to play a character and try to act what they think Republicans act like by being a dark Democrat, being rude, being crass, unapologetic, being just like inflammatory. They're going to try to play a part. And this is them saying it in their own words. So I find it really interesting that she uses that language to describe a charismatic leader who, just acts a certain way to get votes. And then you have all of these Democratic characters playing parts to get people to like them.
The leader of the MAGA movement is Trump. Who are you stating the leader of the Democratic Party is that people will follow blindly without questioning no matter what?
Well, I mean, there's...
And I'm hearing tons of different examples, so that can just tell you there's not one.
Obama, Biden. I mean, I could just go on and on and on, right? Michael, right? I don't know if y'all saw that, but she was actually in an interview, in like a podcast, and she admitted to being a black man, and she admitted to being trans.
Okay, again, so it could be Obama, it could be Rachel Maddow. I mean, the point being is that I don't even think it's the strongest argument to call either party a cult. That's not why I'm up here. I'm simply just playing the same frequency that you're coming at, that based on the definition, the Democrat Party is far more mindless and far more of a Borg, to use a Star Trek analogy, than the Republican Party or the conservative movement. And so, but here's something I do want to ask, though. If you are positing that it is a cult, do you think this entire audience is part of a cult and they don't realize it?
I think that my statement was the Make America Great Again movement is a cult. I'm not saying the Conservative Party is. I'm saying the far-right MAGA movement is a cult. I will say that I believe in my heart that there are certain people in this group who could be characterized as someone who is in a cult.
Okay. I mean, I think that's insane. And
Do the people sitting behind her look oppressed and brainwashed to you? Do they look like mindless people following a leader and have no minds of their own?
I'm not here to give Democrats advice, but it's so destructive to our politics to call people that just won a national electoral landslide and the national popular vote as part of a cult. Maybe instead it should be, maybe they have better ideas than we do.
Maybe they just... Maybe they had billions of dollars to put into their campaign funding that got them...
Whoa. Okay. I would just like to remind you which side spent more money on their campaign. Which side hired pop stars and R&B artists and TV personalities and all kinds of people to speak on their behalf? And I know Trump had like Kid Rock and stuff, but those were celebrations, right? Those weren't people on stage basically like saying, you better vote for him because, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't have to hire these people. These were people that were already voting for him. And they were on stage, like, celebrating with him. She paid these people to be there, like Beyonce, right? Like Taylor Swift, like all these different people. And what did she get out of it? Like, the majority of the people still voted. I know Taylor Swift is Democrat, but I don't know. Did she campaign for Kamala Harris? I don't remember right off the top of my head. She just got as many people as she could pay, right? She got some, like, movie stars. I don't know. She spoke so much, like, word salad nonsense, I couldn't even watch campaigns.
The awareness.
Hold on. I mean, you seem well-intentioned. So who spent more money in this election, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
Right.
It's not even close. It's 3-1 more money was spent by Kamala and her affiliated super PACs than Donald Trump.
Do you have the numbers?
Yeah, you can go to opensecrets.org. You can look at all the outside groups, the hard money that Kamala raised, the super PACs that they raised. Democrats, by the way, do you know that 8 out of 10 of the wealthiest counties in America vote Democrat? Do Do you know the wealthier you are in America, the more likely you are to be a member of the Democrat Party? That the more, if you work with your hands and you don't graduate from college, that you're less likely to be a Democrat. Now, one of your
Because I feel like the Democratic Party now has moved completely over to the rich people problem side. Like everything that they worry about and their policies are all based around just like first world problems. You know what I mean? It's not grocery prices and, immigration reform and, bringing jobs back. It's just like we need to have equal opportunities for everyone and women's liberation, and we need to have empowerment for everyone, and we need to worry about global warming, even though, and it's like the people over on the right they're hardworking people, and they're really just trying to stay grounded and like keep reality in check. And then the Democrats are like virtue signaling and like we don't have problems, so we're going to create problems, right? Everybody's racist and we need more equality, and just like uh
fellow cult members just screamed at me from the audience saying, well, that's because, they're so educated. Do never conflate everybody credentials with an education. Just because you have a lot of degrees does not mean you have the most important thing, wisdom. Wisdom is different than a credential. Now, I could tell that you're coming after this from a good perspective. So my last homework assignment for you is this. I want you to go find 5 people with a MAGA hat once this event is over and talk to them. And then I want you to say what you said to me. I want you to first accuse them of being in a cult, because if you can say it to me, you can say it to them.
Sure.
And then I want you to have a good faith conversation, because we are not going to bring this country together, of which is actually our goal here as part of the MAGA movement, which is why we have an open mic. If you go around accusing people as if we're following Charlie Manson.
You just did the same thing to me.
Well, in all fairness, I said if this is the standard of our dialogue right now, the Democrat Party is far more of a cult than the Republican Party. That is not a contention that I throw around lightly.
Right.
But it is, you satisfy the requirement.
she brought that to him, and she called them a cult. She called Trump supporters, the MAGA movement, a cult. So literally, what else could he do except show her that I'm not saying that I'm a cult. I'm not saying that you're a cult. I'm not calling you anything, but I'm saying that your side exhibits more of cult-like behavior than my side does. And here's how, right? I don't know what she expected.
It's way more than the MAGA movement
You
does.
haven't asked me enough questions to know that.
Well, that has nothing to do with what I've said.
Yes, it does.
I mean,
You haven't asked me if I would blindly follow some
I'm
leader of the Democratic Party, which is no. I would only follow if I do the in-depth research of an unbiased source to get my information, and then I base my opinion
so
off of that.
fair enough. Can you give me an example of an unbiased source?
I mean, like Mayo Clinic or just like any EDU source of college information.
Okay, so colleges, EDU sources, I'm not going to say they all are biased, but I'm going to say a lot of them are left-leaning. Okay? Trump just had to defund Harvard, right? And I think that it's really crazy and uneducated for her to say that she's listening to unbiased sources that just happen to be any EDU source. Like, how does she know that just because it says EDU, like anybody could be biased, right? Anything is biased. And when you look up information, of course you're only going to read the information that you agree with, right? If you're on a mission to find something that agrees with you, you're going to find it. Like, I don't care if you think, you know what? I'm going to come up with information because I feel like taking a shower every day is bad for you. I guarantee you, you will find an article out there, you will find a video, you will find somebody who agrees with you that taking a shower is bad. It'll make you sick, it'll wash oils off your skin, it can dry you out, it can, right? It can do all kinds of things. And on the flip side, you can find articles saying that you need to shower every day, and then you can find people saying you need to shower twice a day. right? So it doesn't matter what you look up, you're going to find so many opinions, right? So this, I mean, my goodness.
Information.
I'll end this. If that's your idea of a biased source,
Off the top of my head.
I would encourage you to dig deeper and be more of a free thinker.
And I will, and I am a free thinker. And I grew up in a conservative household. And once I left my parents and their beliefs, and I moved to college in a very conservative state, I actually become more progressive.
Okay, and so how is your relationship with your parents?
I mean, it's fine. We don't agree on most things, but
Wait, so they didn't kick you out for having a different opinion? They're terrible cult members.
Yep, yep, yep.
Wait, they still love you for who you are, and do they pay your tuition?
nope.
Okay,
I
well,
pay my own tuition. I pay everything on my own.
well, good. Then they're even better parents. They make you pay for your own stuff. The point, so you can't even point to your own family as being part of a cult. They still love you. They still talk to you.
I would go as far as to say, and if they're watching this, I do believe that my parents are in a cult. But
Ooh.
Do you understand how damaging that is?
That is such an ungrateful, shitty attitude. Like, on if you literally have that opinion about your own parents who love you and who raised you, and they have not hurt her, they've obviously brought her up to be a healthy, like, obviously she's not the brightest light bulb, but she's, well, alive, right? And she's made it off to college, right? And her parents are still like nice, and she says she still has a good relationship with them. So the fact that she is saying these things about them, like, that is such a bratty attitude. Like, imagine if her parents were out there saying that. That is just crazy. Although they're probably thinking it now. I mean, if they see, especially if they see this, they're probably like, oh my God, she's completely brainwashed.
To go around to say the people who raised you and nurtured you and brought you into the world that you're a cult because some professor told me the definition of a cult in an anthropology course.
Nope. You're wrong.
All right. Thank you.
It was nice to talk to you, though.
Thank you for your time.
Wow, that is crazy, guys. That is crazy. So if you made it to the end of my video, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe. That would really help out the channel if you want to, anyways. If you don't want to, well then fine, don't then. But like, you definitely probably should. And yeah, that's all I have for right now. So bye.